going to record this just so that anyone, especially Sarah, can watch it after the fact. So, um, let's see who's got listening excerpts posted.
Was there a forum? I missed the forum.
There, there
Oh,
wasn't a forum posted.
oh, there wasn't. Yeah, I'm sorry, I did that late. So there is one now.
Oh,
If you want to
Oh, there is one now.
go to the Moodle
Okay.
page, yeah, that's my bad.
I think I put mine in there.
Okay, let me see. Yeah, Christie mashup. Okay, let's start with this. Oh, okay, it's a WAV file. This is one you did then?
Yeah, it was for um, another class, and we were learning about mashups, and so we had to use all of the different instruments were from different songs, samples from CC Mixter, and then um, yeah, just mashed it up. And the I used Reaper, and so I kind of like followed bits of your tutorial and bits of his tutorial, and um, I couldn't. My one biggest issue was the oh, I can't think of the word right now. I'm still waking up. Um, on vocals and everything when I was trying,
Compression.
not compression. The one that makes it sound echoey.
Oh, reverb.
reverb.
Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. The reverb options. I'm used to Logic reverb, and so it was like a lot different sounding. So it was like the reverb is crazy on the vocals.
Okay, yeah. Reaper's built-in reverbs are really not good. There's some third-party plugins that you can find and download, and they sound a lot better. Yeah, the Reaper reverbs are just not very good. Okay, so well, okay, here is just for listening.
We don't have to listen to the whole thing. It's long.
Okay, yeah. Hey, nice job.
Thanks.
Yeah,
It was hard finding samples that that sounded good together on CC Mixter at least.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's one big advantage of Logic's sample packs is that they're all key related. So I mean, you can find, everything's described as being in a given key, so you can find it easily, and you know that it's going to work, and it automatically maps the tempos,
Yeah.
and so yeah, Logic is so much easier to do the remix stuff than Reaper by far. Um, but yeah, remixing is a whole art form in itself, and some people are super good at it. Um, I, I, it was never a big interest of mine, but I always find it fascinating what people can do with remixes. And that sort of gets into our talking about producers. We're going to talk about producers today in production. So awesome. Yeah, hey, nice job. I hope you get a great grade on that.
Thank you.
Let's see. else got one up?
I do.
Okay.
I threw one up too.
Oh, there I see. Okay. Other Jake is first, so let's do
Okay.
it.
So fast forward that one to 16 minutes and 45 seconds.
Okay.
So this is Rob Scallon. We've seen a couple of his things before in the listening, whatever. This is he found this organ in some big church in Chicago, and this organ had a MIDI in plug. So he was able to plug in uh, some MIDI into the organ and get playback on the organ itself. And it
Really
was really cool. Yeah. So this is just a little playback of that. I don't know.
cool.
I thought it was kind of interesting.
Okay. Let's get this 2:45. You said
1645.
16:45. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go with Bohemian Rhapsody.
So this is just Bohemian Rhapsody show.
Yeah, you don't hit a single note. Doesn't have a MIDI program. It's definitely there. I'm noticing that a lot, like the MIDI notes will start.
So you get the gist.
Yeah.
I just thought it was super interesting how they could like remotely control such a massive instrument, and because that it's a huge organ, it's the entire building. Um, yeah, I just thought it was so cool how they could control it from just the MIDI.
Yeah. Most of the organs now, or at least a lot of them, are being retrofitted with MIDI, and so each one of those manuals has a separate MIDI channels. I think what they do that, and then
Mhm.
the organist can pull the stops on any to make any of those manuals be assigned to any of the ranks of pipes, and they talk about ranks of pipes and pipe organs. That's the
Mhm.
number of specific shaped pipes that have like different sounds. So you could have a 40 rank pipe organ, which means there's actually 40 complete independent sets of pipes that you can assign things to. So different effects, the trumpet sounds and the flute sounds. So yeah, that's really pretty awesome. So I could become an organist, just MIDI track everything and plug it into the church organ. So yeah, very cool. Okay, now let me get back. Let's, sorry, I have too many tabs open again. Okay, so let's go to Jake.
Yeah. And then you can start mine at 34 seconds in.
34, okay.
Yeah. This actually ties in well to Jake's because this is also Bohemian Rhapsody.
Wow, we didn't even plan that.
I know.
Wow.
What do you know?
You're not sharing the screen.
Oh, okay. Here, let me... Hang on just a second. I lost the tab. Oh.
Drum Major's trusted chief, Andre Mathis. Is your corps ready? Performing their 2011 program, Rockstar. Drum Corps International is proud to present.
Yeah, so I missed some of that early stuff here.
That's fine.
All that. Yeah.
Drum Major's trusted chief, Andre Mathis.
Yeah. Wow, that's a production and a half.
Yeah, one of my closest friends was on their marimba line this year.
Oh man. Yeah. Whew. Yeah, so that's a ton of xylophones.
Yeah, it's 5 marimbas, 4 vibes, xylo, Glock, drum set, 2 synths,
Crazy.
and an electric guitar.
Yeah. Oh man. Um, yeah, I was just surprised at the huge budgets that drum corps have.
Yeah,
It's like, wow.
yeah. The average tuition per member in the activity right now is around 4,300.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. The most expensive group is 5,200,
Oh
and the cheapest is like 32 right now.
man.
Yeah, it's insane.
that that is. That's oh. But I mean, it's all production value.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So my question is on these big competitions, what do the groups get besides prestige for winning the competitions?
A medal.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, interesting. Okay, so Anna, what do you have here?
Okay, so for this week, I decided to do something that was my own. Um, so this was something I composed back in December, I believe, and it was, believe it or not, this was before I got my East-West libraries. So this was completely done on Logic samples, which is kind of surprising because it sounded pretty, it sounds pretty decent. So think it was a learning. And the other thing is, I was in the point that I was transitioning and using a MIDI keyboard, which made a big difference because I was able to create sounds and textures that I wasn't before when I was just, plugging it into my laptop. So, so yeah, that's basically, and I just like this one. So,
Okay, okay. Here, let's get through
You in
these
this class
stupid
is
ads.
use the lessons of history to apply to your daily life.
use the mod wheel for the bend?
Yes, I did.
Hey, you just watched Lord of the Rings? Wow, epic. So yeah, that seems very, like Lord of the Rings epic tale
Hmm.
adventure mixed with tragedy and yeah. Yeah, awesome
Hmm.
job.
Thank you.
Very nice. Um yeah, I don't know if I have anything fun to play for you. Uh, did I give you my demonstrations of my monochord of doom? No?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, let me show you my monochord of doom that I invented. Um, here's my monochord of doom. This is a brief demonstration of my monochord of doom that I designed. This is the prototype. The idea is a long steel string with a just stretched over a bridge arrangement. It's tunable with a built-in condenser mic here. Um, this is just run flat through a board, no effects. I'm using an EBO. Frightening sounds. So it's all without any kind of processing or effects. This is just the sound of the instrument. So anyway, that's my monochord of doom.
Oh, yeah, I think you brought that into class last semester.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You've used that for film scoring, right?
right.
It vaguely reminds me of like a bowed water phone kind of thing.
Yeah, it does have that kind of an effect. Did I bring in my great bass monochord of doom?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I got one that uses the longest low
Yeah, that was it.
9-foot Steinway. So it's the
Hmm.
same kind of thing. It's just as horrifying, but it's a lot lower. So, so anyway, that's my listening example for the day. Um, so does anybody have posted mixes or projects that they want to listen to?
I posted both of mine.
Okay,
I posted mine too.
I
awesome.
posted my other one too.
Wow, let's listen to all of these. Fantastic, guys. Project two submission, that would be, okay, I see Jake's. So this is your mix of the second project then, right?
Uh, sure. I don't know what tab you're
It
under.
it should be if you're in the mix project form.
Oh yeah.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go here. Okay. Let me let me open this up in Audacity.
And a little girl sings a song about leaves falling off of the trees. In a labyrinth of vinyl and knickknacks of local purveyors of pale colored things.
I don't know about anyone else, but the sound's not coming through my
It's
Yeah,
speaker.
it's pretty quiet.
yeah. Let's see what can I do to adjust level. Yeah, it's really soft on my end too. I'm trying to think of how to boost it in the output into the system.
If you turn your computer volume up, does that adjust what we hear?
No, because I'm just. This is just my monitoring.
Because even for some of the YouTube videos, the stuff was pretty quiet as well.
Okay, let me see if I can go to my interface, see what this does. Yes, it's no, it's still soft, right?
Yeah.
Mm, Where can I where can I adjust that? Because these are disabled. I mean, these are all the way up on playback volumes. Let me go into Zoom audio setting. And
Well, I'm holding my breath, not so much 'cause the song's about death, but the fact I can't move. Desperately trying to avoid making a stinking now.
yeah, that's I don't have any control over the computer volume, the playback volume, which is yeah, that's sort of sucky. Let's see if there's anything in advanced. No, it doesn't allow me to change the computer volume. So you're not hearing that hardly at all then?
Yeah.
It's okay if you like turn it, well, at least on my computer, if you turn it up quite a bit.
Just on your ends?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got my volume all the way up and it's still very quiet.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of strange that in other weeks it was pretty loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I am playing this back through Audacity. I wonder. Hold it. Is this? Oh, there's the gain. Okay, hang on. There we go. It's probably gonna peak.
And a thin girl sings a song about leaves falling off of the trees. In a labyrinth of vinyl and knickknacks of local purveyors of pale colored things. Well, it's hotter than hell, but the song's going well. Someone's touching my arm. Am I balling everything I might bump into? I'd much prefer doing no harm. Well, I'm holding my breath, not so much 'cause the song's about death, but the fact I can't move. Desperately trying to avoid making a skin hit, not rare vintage photos of Joel Dodge and Golden right out of their groove. Well, I think I'm too fat for indie music. They don't make you baby, your band's for fellas like me. I think I'm too fat for indie music.
Ah, okay. Um, so, tell us about your mix.
Um, I mean, I didn't have as much of the overheads for the like starting with the drum set. I turned the overheads down a decent amount. Um, Realistically, for the drum kit, I started everything down at 0 and then just built everything up from there.
Okay.
For the snare mic, I put a noise gate on it to cancel out all the cymbal sounds and all that. And then just spent time EQing that. Same with the kick drum. Um, then for the vocals, compressed them, a little bit of reverb, I believe. The reverb on acoustic guitars, and then in the initial mix, I felt like the electric guitar was getting lost in the sound. So I definitely boosted that a decent amount just to get that timbre in there. So
Yeah, yeah. A couple things I noticed. I thought the guitars, the acoustic guitars, sounded really nice. That was a really nice level. The Yeah, could you hear on his vocals? It's what's called the reverb tail, where after the word finishes, you can hear the shimmer after that. So that definitely you did put him in a sort of a largish space,
yes,
which was nice. And the uh, the lead guitar did come through really well on yours.
awesome.
So that was like a featured, a featured lead guitar part. So
Yeah.
yeah. Any other comments from the rest of you guys? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like I did a lot of the same things as Jake in my mix.
Okay. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let me leave this up because it'll be interesting to compare because everybody hears the song a little differently or wants to hear more of something or less of something else. So I think it's always fascinating to compare people's mixes. Let me just slide this off so that it's still available. And let's go. Okay, other Jake, which mix is this? Is this the same one? Okay,
Yeah, that's the same one.
okay. Let me open that also.
And I'm worried there's gonna be an issue because I just opened up Reaper again to double check what I put on what. and I opened it up, and it was the original file and not my edited file. So I'm really hoping that this is my edited file
Oh
and
yeah.
not, yeah, I hope this is what I took out of it, not what I put into it.
Okay. We're gonna find out very quickly.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
Here, oh, here it goes.
upset if it's gone because a lot of time into it.
An ethereal girl sings a song about leaves falling off of the trees. In a labyrinth of vinyl and knickknacks of local purveyors of pale colored things. Well, it's hotter than hell, but the song's going well. Someone's touching my arm. I'm eyeballing everything I might bump into. I much prefer doing no harm. Well, I'm holding my breath, not so much cause the song's about death, but the fact I can't move. Desperately trying to shrink, avoid making a stink, and knock rare vintage photos of Choldosh and Goldman right out of their groove. Well, I think I'm too fat for indie music. They don't make good faded yellow pants for fellas like me.
Okay, I think this is mine.
I think I'm too fat for indie music. Local beer spills on the floor and the people want more at the record store show with about an hour and a half left to go.
Yeah, that's the right file. I can hear
Okay,
I can hear stuff on it.
yeah, good. Well, I like that.
Yeah. So you took a little bit different balance approach, I feel.
Yeah,
Tell us about what you did.
yeah. So I remembered last week you had talked about different pieces of the mix being a little bit wimpy to start off. So I went straight in and I focused on strength of the different parts. So I went right into the drums and I added a bunch of things to get the kick stronger um, and get it to have like a more characteristic kick sound. Um, I beefed up the bass a little bit um, with like a reverb and I compressed it. I did EQ on everything. Um, reverbed the snare, um,
Yeah, I was
compressed the
gonna comment.
vocals.
I really liked your snare sound.
Or did I
I
compress
really
the snare? I don't know. I put some work into the snare because
yeah.
I liked how it turned out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like you emphasized his vocal a little bit more than Jake's mix, and
Hmm.
you used a more subtle reverb. There is reverb on the vocal, but it was a little more subtle. So
Yeah,
just
I
like
didn't want anything to stick out. I just wanted it to blend.
yeah, yeah. So if you just do an A/B comparison, like let's just listen to
My
this
ball and everything I might bump into, I much prefer doing no harm.
and compare that to this.
My ball and everything I might bump into, I much.
So so you
Yeah.
So you brought him more into like a closer focus than Jake did.
Right.
So and it's yeah, I know those are two totally valid ways of looking at the song, and that's what I was encouraging. So yeah, really nice, yeah, nice mix, well done. Yeah, love the drum sound. So who else has one of these that we can listen to?
I do. It's in the final project one since I put the wrong one in the wrong place before.
Here we go.
And now that Jake says that, I'm wondering if my file is the right one too.
Yeah,
Well,
I just opened it back up in Reaper and everything is gone. So
uh,
thank goodness it uploaded the way it needed to.
yeah. Oh, I know that becomes really upsetting when you lose things. I've had that this past week a few times putting in like hours of editing on something and it's all gone.
Mm.
Okay, anything you want to tell us, Christy, about your mix before we listen, or just
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think it's pretty similar to how the first Jake did it. I decreased the uh, hi-hats, and I think I emphasized the instruments more than the vocals,
okay?
and a bit of reverb on the vocals.
Okay, let's listen.
An ethereal girl sings a song about leaves falling off of the trees. In a labyrinth of vinyl and knickknacks of local purveyors of pale colored things. Well, it's hotter than hell, but the song's going well. Someone's touching my arm. I'm eyeballing everything I might bump into. I much prefer doing no harm. Well, I'm holding my breath, not so much cause the song's about death, but the fact I can't move. Desperately trying to shrink, avoid making a stink and knock rare vintage photos of Joel Dosh and Goldman right out of their groove. Well, I think I'm too fat for indie music. They don't make faded yellow pants for fellas like me. I think I'm too fat for indie music. Local beer spills on the floor and the people want more at the record store show with about an hour and a half left to go.
I guess listening back to this, the vocals are pretty hot.
Yeah, they're pretty hot. I don't find them objectionably hot. Um, I feel your mix is probably more similar to other Jakes than first Jakes.
Mm.
Um, yeah. Uh, One thing that I really liked on here is you brought out the kick drum, those hits earlier in it, I think right about here.
Well, I'm holding my breath, not so much cause the song's about
Or no.
death.
Yeah, I did try to EQ that so that it got more of the attack, I guess.
Yeah, and that's really nice in this early part because it sort of sneaks in, and you really brought out the like the initial attacks on that kick drum in that first part.
I'm eyeballing everything I might bump into. I much prefer doing no harm.
Yeah, because yeah, that's really cool in that section where you can hear those the first time the kick drum comes in. Um, yeah, I think everything sounds good. The drums, you must have worked on the drums quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm not really used to doing drums, so I did have to like try to figure it out a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, which is good for everybody to have practice with drum kit because it's the most difficult element in any mix is getting the drum kit sounding good. So, but I think reverb wise, you had them a little bit closer. There's a nice reverb on them, but not uh, still a little closer perspective than first Jake's. Um, but yeah, I think we have all three of those are really cool ways of looking at it, and everything is they're all different. You've got three entirely different sounds, but pretty distinctive sounds because of what you were hearing and acting. Yeah, and it sort of ties in today. You were sort of the music producers of deciding what is the final product sounding like. So yeah, very cool, guys. So yeah, Anna, have you done this one?
Yes, we listened to it a couple weeks ago.
Can I bring that up just so that we
Sure.
can do the do all the comparison?
Yeah.
Was that where was that? Do you remember where you loaded it?
I think it was last week.
The mix project too.
Oh, there it is. And there. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Let's just so that we have a good perspective on everybody.
An ethereal girl sings a song about leaves falling off of the trees. In a labyrinth of vinyl and knickknacks of local purveyors of pale colored things. Well, it's hotter than hell, but the song's going well. Someone's touching my arm. I'm eyeballing everything I might bump into. I much prefer doing no harm. Well, I'm holding my breath, not so much cause the song's about death, but the fact I can't move. Desperately trying to shrink, avoid making a stink, and knock rare vintage photos of Joel, Dosh, and Goldman right out of their groove. Well, I think I'm too fat for indie music. They don't make me faded yellow pants for fellas like me. I think I'm too fat for indie music. Local beer spills on the floor and the people want more at the record store show with about an hour and a half left to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think of the four mixes, Anna, you have the lead vocal like closest to us. It's almost like we're sitting right next to him in the record shop, listening to
Yeah.
that vocal, which is
Hmm.
you know it's just a entirely different perspective on the singer. So um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think they're all very valid ways of understanding this song. And this is what music producers do is they decide what is the final song sounding like, what's the final musical value that we're dealing with. And the article that I uploaded about music production deals with this kind of thing. Let's talk about that now. But yeah, these are all very cool mixes. I like them all. Um, let me get. So let me. Uh, I found this article and I thought it was good because it gives you sort of an overview of what music producers do. And essentially, all of us are music producers. So, um, there's the different descriptions, like the project manager would be the guy that controls the money and hires the people. So, having a vision for the music, I think, is the biggest part of what a music producer really does. So, the different categories that the article talks about is the engineer as the producer. And so every engineer makes production decisions. And so the engineer typically has the biggest toolbox of technical tools to work with. So, compression settings, reverb, tails, how the drums sound. So that's what you guys were all doing in this project is you were all imposing these kinds of things to come up with a sound. Um, do you guys know who Rick Rubin is? Uh, very, very famous producer. Um, his label is Def Jam Records. Do you know of that? So Rick Rubin is a very eclectic guy. So producing rap, hip hop things. But then he did a Johnny Cash album. So he tends to work with artists to get the best possible sound out of that particular artist. Um, uh, he took on the Johnny Cash project when Johnny Cash was like old and burned out and bitter, and he sat with him in his living room with just running a little digital recorder while Johnny Cash was just singing songs from his childhood, and he thought, now this is really a cool thing. This is like the authentic Johnny Cash, not the highly produced Nashville kind of productions. So he put out this really cool, like authentic Johnny Cash as himself. And it was maybe one of his Johnny Cash's best albums. Was his very last one he did with Rick Rubin as sort of the mentor to get the best out of him. Probably you've heard of Phil Spector. Phil Spector, very bizarre guy. Murder charges against him for all this crazy stuff, but he had a production style called the Wall of Sound, and a lot of the 70s, 80s productions had Phil Spector, and he was very successful. So people would go to him for this particular sound, and it was crazy because on his recording sessions, he would have two drummers, and they were playing exactly identical parts. He would have two or three piano players all playing exactly the same parts. And it was this really, he'd bring in like vocalists and do these big background vocal harmonies. Phil Spector has been credited with being the guy who broke up the Beatles, because when the Beatles were working on their last group album, Let It Be, Apple Records didn't like what they had, so they sent it over to Phil Spector, and Phil Spector made it sound like a Phil Spector album. The Beatles hated it. At that point they hated each other, and so anyway, that was just sort of a weird part of music history that Phil Spector imposed his sound on the Beatles. Yeah, Golden Ticket. Sometimes they're very successful economically. Dr. Dre, you've probably heard of Dr. Dre. Doing very successful records. Now remixing is a thing that like I said, I haven't gotten into that much, but there's some guys that are really expert at remixing. So you probably know some of those famous remixes because they become popular as things in their own right by taking other artists' work and resampling, remixing them. So I've got to say the original artists generally love that, because their original songs, they're still getting royalties on the remixes, so they're making tons of money if their songs become successful a second time in a different iteration. So then we have the musician producers, which I feel a lot of you guys fall into this category of people who are musicians in their own right, who then go on to produce other people. So Daniel Lanois and U2's thing. So Trevor Horn, you probably haven't heard of, but a multi-instrumentalist, very talented guy. So I think being a musician is a big advantage to being a producer because you have the musical knowledge to know what makes something sound good, and you can apply that not only to your own stuff, which I think everybody should do, but if you can apply it to other people's work too, that can be very satisfying and bring your own take onto somebody else's project. It's a great career choice. Um, let's see. Did I see in here? I don't see him. I was going to talk about in this category. Do you guys know Dave Don Was the name? Uh, Don Was is a local guy from Oak Park who had a band, uh, Was Not Was, and in the 80s they got fairly successful. I think their biggest hit was this Walk Your Dinosaur, but Don Was all of a sudden started, one of the two original members started producing everybody. So he's a rocker, and he produced Bonnie Raitt and won a Grammy Award for a Bonnie Raitt country album. And then he's gone on to produce just, in every conceivable category of music. Very successful guy and a local guy. I knew his father quite well. He was a well-known voiceover guy. The dad was. So anyway, that's coming out of being a musician and an artist, you can get into production. And I got to say also, production is where most of the money is because people pay you to make their music good. And record labels have points, percentages of sales that go to the producer. So it's a really good financial situation you can get into if you produce a record for a label, for somebody that's successful. Okay, so then in terms of artists, you've got Prince. He just had his own totally unique vision of what music should be, and there's nobody that sounds like Prince. It was like his own thing. Really good guitarist. I don't know if people realized how great a guitarist Prince was, but he did his own production in his own studio. He worked with an engineer, I can't remember her name right now, but she was like the interface to the technology, but he handled everything else in his productions. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, again, sort of a visionary kind of guy. Brian Wilson, all those background harmonies on the big Beach Boys albums, Brian Wilson had those in his head when he went into the studio, and he taught the rest of the band their individual parts. So, that's pretty crazy genius. So, all bonkers visionaries. There have been a lot of those. So yeah, Lee Scratch Perry, crazy guy. Probably you haven't heard of Joe Meek. There's some interesting documentaries online about Joe Meek. In the late 50s, early 60s in London, he became a recordist and a record producer, and a lot of those early English hits were Joe Meek productions. He was, a really crazy guy. He made his own electronics. So he had these boxes of electronics that he would put together with no labels on them, and only he knew what they did. And really crazy guy, but very successful. let's see. Oh, Brian Eno. You guys know Brian Eno's work. Uh, you should check it out. He This whole idea of ambient electronic music was a Brian Eno invention, but he's worked in all sorts of other areas too. But definitely a synth um, genius in getting cool sounds. Yeah, I worked with David Byrne. Um, I don't know there have been so many great producers that are totally underplayed in the history of what music should sound like. So I guess bottom line is being a music producer. If it's even only for your own unique sound, you will be a music producer and you are a music producer. But it also opens up lots of possibilities for employment by producing other people's music. And how you get there is sort of there's no direct path. You can't major, well, actually, you can major in music production at Berkeley in Boston. But majoring in music production does not lead to a career in music production. Uh, Getting into music production has more to do with networking and working with someone that says, "Boy, I really like how you got that sound on your stuff. Could you do that for me?" And so it's a sort of a one-on-one network, build up a reputation, use all your skills to make somebody else successful. That's what a music producer does. So, yeah, pretty good article. Do you guys know any producers yourselves? No? Okay. Yeah, it's one of those like mysteries in the music business, and not a lot of people uh, understand it or even appreciate it. At least the public doesn't appreciate it, but musicians appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about final recording projects. How are those going, guys?
I turned mine in.
Oh,
We listened to mine last week.
well, yeah, we did. Yeah, listen to yours. Yeah,
I
beautiful.
turned mine.
Jake and I both have ours submitted. They're submitted under the second final recording forum.
No, the first one,
Yeah, the first one, which is under
the earliest one.
Okay, well, let's listen to those maybe next week.
Okay.
Next. Okay.
Yeah, next week, right? We've got class, one more class, right?
Okay.
We're taking the final during that time, correct?
Isn't
Yeah,
this
next week is finals week.
Oh
that
yeah,
was in
that's
2
right.
weeks. Or is that next week?
That's
No,
next.
finals is next week.
Is it next week? Actually,
Yeah.
Yep.
I yeah, I thought I had. Let me look at the syllabus. 1 second. I'll confirm for everybody.
Either that or Soroka is very wrong.
Uh,
Yeah, I think it's next week.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it is next week. Um, so, but I think that's my original plan was to listen to all the final projects on the final day.
Okay.
So
Cool.
That's fine. Yeah. So it's just the two of ours. Yeah.
yeah, and I know actually Madison has finished his.
Okay.
I'm not sure where he put it, but I don't want to spend that time reviewing getting everybody a chance to listen to everybody's final projects, and we'll replay yours, Christy. And then the final exam, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that as just an online, like a Moodle format. So that's my job this week is to do that. I'll put a review guide up, but I've got to tell you that I'm not going to count the final exam as a high percentage, and I'm going to make the quiz as simple and fast as possible, and I'll give you all finals week to complete that. So if you could get it done by next Friday, you can do that at your own leisure. The main things I'm covering in that would be probably the biggest, the most important concepts we're talking about. I will ask you specifically about the types of EQs there are. I'll ask you about compression, what's compression ratio, what's threshold. Um, Talk about reverb, talk about plugins. So those kind of things that we've been using, that'll be on there. Um, I might actually have you have some audio questions in there where you'll play something and identify what is the effect that's being used on this particular instrument. Um,
Hmm.
so it'll be those kinds of things, but you'll have all week to do that. The main thing that we're doing during the final schedule thing is just listening to the final recording projects. So, sound good?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Do we need to prepare a listening example as well as the final recording project?
No additional listening for next week. Just make sure that you've put in all of your previous listening things in that shared sheets, Google
Okay,
Sheets.
see if I can find my old ones.
Oh, did you want us to? I saw in the Moodle forum it said to like comment on other people's. Did you still want us to do that since we're doing these and talking about them in class?
Yeah, if you could listen to everybody's that are posted and just put some comment about what strikes you about their mix, how it's the same as yours or different than yours, or just a short one sentence comment would be great.
On everybody's?
Yes, on everybody's.
Okay.
So, okay, I think that's all we have to do for the day. If anybody needs any assistance on anything else, just let me know. I'm mainly worried more about the people that haven't been meeting regularly and getting everybody else up to speed. Brian also is having technology issues, so I'm working with him separately here. Sierra, I've been with her. So anyway, I think everybody will get through unscathed in this class. Yeah, you guys have been really consistent. You're all doing great. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. So
Okay.
okay, well, have a good last week here, and we'll meet again Monday morning for the final presentations.
All right. Thanks.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
Okay, see you all later.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Jake, I just noticed that